Alrighty, welcome to the Resilient Living podcast with our new streaming service, and we'll see how this goes.
Yeah, we're testing it on all of you first.
Right.
How we're doing this.
All right. So, as always, I am Jared Wilson. I'm the owner of Resilient Living, joined by my friend, Mr.
Ryan
Ryan.
Steva. Hey,
Okay,
everybody.
I've got a product, right? Okay. And I was actually thinking about this. This might actually be why we got in trouble with the last streaming service, is because of the product things. But anyway, I don't care. Tech New. Have you ever used Tech New?
I have. Yeah.
I love this stuff. So, okay, funny story. I had a dog, little Springer Spaniel. 2 years in a row, New Year's Eve, she goes flying out the door. Everything. It's midnight, New Year's Eve, so it's noisy, whatever. Gets sprayed by a skunk.
Ooh.
2 years in a row. I swear the skunk just like had this figured out. Like, so the first year we tried all of the tomato bath, the vanilla, don't do that. It doesn't work.
No, it
we
really
had
doesn't.
we had vanilla skunk dog. It was miserable. Then we discovered Tech New, because not only does it remove poison ivy and poison sumac and all those things, but it also helps with skunks because it attaches to the oils that are the skunk spray and strips them away. So if you don't, we're coming into summertime, out and about, getting into stuff, ivy, sumac, poison oak, whatever. Just grab some Tech New, keep it in your fanny pack, backpack, center console of your car, whatever. It's a great product. And if you happen to get sprayed by a skunk, it'll work for that too.
That is not a use I've ever thought of for Tech New before. Because
Right.
my experience is that it's a poison ivy, poison oak,
Mhm.
poison sumac, whatever
Yeah.
remover, but it makes sense because it's oils.
Yep. Exactly. Yeah. So
So
it's
yeah,
good for you can put it on clothes, tools, skin. It's good for attaching to like saps. So like if you get covered in all kinds of like pine saps or whatever, then yeah, Tech
just
New.
a good all around cleaning agent.
Good all around cleaning
Nice.
agent. What's up, Caleb? Been there. Yeah, right.
Yeah, that makes sense too, because when I've had my dog get skunked,
Yeah.
I'll use Dawn dish soap, which I don't really like using chemically on my dog
Right.
or, handling too much myself. However, I figure for the purpose and the periodic time I have to do it, it's not a big deal.
Sure.
That works pretty well, but I bet Tech New works a lot better.
Yeah, it works fantastically well. All right. So our subject for this evening is logic, which we alluded to last week. But
Yeah,
we're gonna
logical
dive into it.
fallacies.
Logical fallacies, which okay, and I've often surmised this, that with the development of all the social medias, that this would become more and more prevalent, and darn tootin' I was right. Um, because it's an easy one to get stuck on. They're often they feel like they're a good argument, even though they aren't a good argument, and we'll
Yeah.
get into why that's the case, where it's a feeling. But I wanted to start off with a couple quotes, because you always bring out some awesome quotes, and so I had to go digging and I had to get some good quotes.
I love quotes.
All right, so this one is often attributed to Mark Twain. No confirmation, but it's a good one. Either way, it ain't what you know that gets you into trouble. It's what you know for sure that just ain't so.
Yep.
And like I'm like, yeah, it's those things that like I'm absolutely dead positive that it's this way. And it's not. And that is absolutely what gets me into trouble.
Yep. Yeah, we talked about that last week a bit about how, the concept of when you think you know something really well, it's because you don't. Like,
Right. And the deeper you dig into it, the more you realize you don't know anything, right?
right.
So, okay. So, first one I wanted to go was a straw man, because everybody's probably heard of the straw man argument. But what actually is a straw man argument? And like we'll as some examples. But so basically, it's a misrepresentation. Um, it's misrepresenting someone's argument to make it easier to attack them and or it. So the example I came up with, because I was trying to think of like preppery examples. So, the example would be, well, you think, people should store food and water. That means that, we should all be paranoid doomsday preppers living in bunkers, right? Take
Right.
to this ridiculous degree, because then that makes it so much easier to attack that.
Yeah.
And how prevalent is that in
It it's every single argument you see on the internet is a lack of nuance into the actual meaning that somebody was putting forth.
yeah, yeah, extending something to a ridiculous, degree, or, or the caveat, circumstance. Well, what about, what if? There's actually another logical fallacy for that, but but it's all kind of tied together into that same, um, fallacy of, it's a straw man. Like,
Yeah.
I'm asserting this. You're saying this other thing in order to disprove me, but you're not actually disproving. And so my biggest, if you take nothing away from this, my biggest takeaway is, if the argument makes you feel anything, fear, anger, frustration, annoyance, whatever, then it's probably a fallacy. If it makes you think, then we're in an actual conversation. But if it makes you feel first, because that feeling is really what it's designed for. It's engineered, and it really truly is engineered to make you feel, because when you're feeling, that's a different part of your brain. You're not using your prefrontal cortex. It's forcing you out of that and into a baser state of brain activity that doesn't think.
Yeah, it bypasses the kind of the logical
Yep.
progression. And yeah, absolutely. It can really lead you to a lot of problems as far as how you respond to people. And then you end up with a you just this or
I love that one.
yeah. And it's like, you know, I actually personally love having conversations with people that I disagree with, but they can be rational and reasonable about it.
Yeah, it's
Because
fun.
yeah, and because we need a different take. I mean, I don't know if you wanna get into it on the podcast, but I've expressed that I disagree with the titling or labeling of, basically anybody who's, I don't know the right proper
Oh,
labeling, but anybody who's
neurodivergent?
like neurodivergent or
Yeah, yeah,
something
yeah.
like that and
Sure,
saying, "Oh, you're autistic." I don't like that
sure.
nomenclature. You don't mind it nearly as much, and you find it actually potentially useful, if I'm not misrepresenting you.
You're
And
good.
we had a discussion about that, and I don't think either of us walked away being hurt by the discussion. We just had
No.
a different understanding of how each other see it.
Yeah, exactly, and that's okay. I get people coming into the shop who are, we'll say, from all walks of life,
Mhm,
and it's wonderful. I can have a conversation with them, and we can discuss topics. I try to stay away from, more contentious topics, but if they bring it up, they bring it up. Okay, we can go with that.
mhm,
And I have a blast if they're reasonable and
mhm.
will actually have that conversation, and are okay with my alternate opinion. Like, well, okay, this is my experience, this is my perspective, and this is why. And I could, and I think one of the biggest for me is empathy. I can I can see why they are in the position that they're in, that why they consider what they consider, why they think the way they think. And empathy is somewhat lost in our current climate. It's just become, it's not a thing anymore. I think people don't want to empathize with somebody; they just want to correct them.
Yeah, I think we've been programmed to, like, knee jerk react and correct and listen for the point where we disagree.
Yes, and we
Like
listen. We only listen until we can interject our thoughts.
mhm.
We don't listen to actually hear. We just listen for that break, and then we can say our thing.
Wait, what did you say?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think we were sitting there going, "Oh, I've got this thing I wanna say,"
Yeah,
and at that point, you
you,
oftentimes just stop listening.
yeah. Yeah,
Um,
well, I find myself doing that. I was like, "Oh, I got this." Yeah, exactly what you said. Like, "Oh, I got this thing," and I'll just sit there waiting. Okay, 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 okay. Now I can say it. Like, wait,
right.
what did he say? Crap.
Yep. No, and we misunderstand each other so often because I think there's so much nuance lost, and when you're using social media, you have to be you either have to be brief or nobody's going to pay attention. And then when you are brief, either you're not being very nuanced in how you speak, or even if you are, people don't understand the nuance of language anymore. It's like that's just
True.
out the window. When I use a specific word for a specific reason, and it is broad enough or it's specific enough, a lot of times people will attack that thing because they don't understand. They're looking at it the way that their media has trained them to look at it.
True.
So
Yes, definitions are really important, and yeah, those of us who strive to use accurate language are often misunderstood, and that language is misused.
yeah. Well, for example, I refuse to use the word decimate to mean like destroy because it means to destroy 10%,
Yeah, right.
right?
Dessa.
Yeah, does so. So, like, I know that sounds stupid, but I like to be, when I can, careful with my language.
Yeah.
Another thing that I've noticed is when talking with somebody, like if you use the word, let's see, capitalism or even free market,
Okay. Yeah.
depending on the person and how their brain has been trained to understand that given word,
Yes.
they will interpret what you say as something entirely different. Right. And I'm not arguing for one understanding or the other. I think both are kind of wrong when it comes to capitalism. But let's say I say that to one person on one end of the spectrum, they're going to immediately think of, giant corporation, essentially corporatism, right? And the
Which
other
isn't
side is
capitalism.
no, and the other side is going to think of, like your business, right? Where it's
Yeah.
a small business and you're able to do things and people will pay you because you provide the best good or service.
Yeah.
And those are very, very different ends of the spectrum. And so I have to be careful, one, in who I'm talking to, but two, in what I actually mean and what the language means. And it's been so bastardized that there's just a lot of words that we'd like to use mean something either entirely different from one person to another, or they don't mean what they used to mean. So they're very difficult to use carefully.
Very true. And to my mom's point of having to see the face and read the body language, that really is in my mind is a function of English is a horrible language in a written form, especially
Yeah.
because it is such an amalgam of all these different languages with all these different meanings and all these, that as a written language, it's really hard to pick on sarcasm. It's really hard to pick up on all of these nuances because it's not a great language.
No, it's a really terrible language, honestly. But you're right. There's like so many. It's just a convoluted mess of different languages from different locations and different origin words and things that we to write it in a way that you put a comma somewhere in the wrong place
Oh
and you
yeah,
can
right. Oh yeah, and then that just basically opens you up to that straw man argument of someone being able to come in and go, "Oh, well, you said this, and therefore this other thing." I'm like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa! That is not at all what I meant." And
right.
a comma is a perfect example of that. You can have a very different meaning of a word or of a sentence
Yes,
by moving that comma just one word over.
exactly. Or not having it or whatever.
Right.
Um, Yeah, so I'm actually kind of excited to go through the rest of these,
Yeah. Yeah.
partially because I know most of them, at
Good.
least kind of on a tertiary level. But I think one of the things that I struggle with is knowing what it's called or calling it out in the moment it's
In the
being
moment.
done.
Sure.
And I think having these actually put out and talking about them and thinking about them, that really helps solidify that a bit.
Sure. And being able to name something really saps it of its power. It really removes any authority that argument then has. So the next one is the ad hominem attack, which is literally just attacking the person instead of the argument. Right. So why would we listen to him about emergency gear? He doesn't even look like he spends any time outdoors. So like the physical appearance, therefore, negates any expertise. I know guys who are incredibly overweight and not mobile at all, and that's because they spent 26 years in the army destroying their body, and they physically can't get up and move around anymore. And so, yeah, they've packed on a lot of weight, but the knowledge that they hold is
Mhm.
amazing. So I'm not going to negate them like, oh, well, you don't know what you're talking about. You're fat. Like,
Right.
what? No.
You're cotton-headed ninny muggins.
What?
Have you never seen Elf?
Oh gosh, that's years ago. Years
Okay,
and years. Okay.
that's like a you gotta watch it every Christmas kinda movie.
Is that one of those?
Well, it should be. I'm kind of judging you now,
Uh-oh,
but
there's ad hominem attack. Um,
yeah, that was in the movie Elf. That was what the elves would use as like the most egregious insult.
gotcha.
So,
So there was a quote from Socrates. When the debate is lost, slander becomes the tool of the loser. And how
mhm,
often do we see this, especially in social media? The second that someone loses or feel that they're no longer have the upper hand, they come out swinging. They go straight for the jugular. They're gonna name call you. They're going to try to discredit you as an individual to try to negate your argument.
yeah. Well, and I think this is done on a grander level too. Like it's it's not so much an ad hominem attack, but the same concept is used by putting somebody forward who basically takes an idea of a real thing that happened, but then makes a spectacle of it in such a way where everybody goes, "Oh, it's the accusation of you're a flat earther."
Oh, okay.
Right, because you deny this specific thing, you're essentially a flat earther, or
Right.
everybody else I know who I see on the internet who believes the same thing you do, also believes this other thing that's just completely absurd.
Sure. That's hasty generalization sort of, and bandwagon. We'll get there. But yeah, but to discredit somebody because if you believe this, you must believe this.
Yeah,
Which also kind of ties back to the straw man. Um, and yeah, if you're a conspiracy theorist, then you therefore must believe all conspiracies. So we didn't
right.
go to the moon. The Earth is hollow. The moon itself is a spaceship with filled with aliens. Like we could go on. Like there's a lot of them.
Which kind of aliens, Jared?
Ooh, hey now we got the reptilians here, and we got
Yeah.
the little grays, and we got the.
Is it the Nordics or the little
Oh
grays
yeah, there's
in
the
the moon?
Nordics too.
Yeah,
Yeah, good point. Good point. Good point. But anyway, so yeah, so it's easy to do an ad hominem on somebody who's like, oh, you only believe that because you were homeschooled. Well,
right,
I was homeschooled, so what? Like, bring it.
right.
My mama done learned me all she knew. Um, Sorry, mom. Uh, so yeah, so that's an ad hominem. False dilemma. This is very prevalent. So false dilemma is an either or. So it's presenting only two options. It's either you're for us or you're against us, right?
Mhm.
How often do we see this online? We're seeing this everywhere, and it's tied up into politics. It's tied up into religion. It's tied up into like you're not this, then therefore you are. Like, whoa,
Yep.
that escalated quickly.
Mhm. Yeah, it's false dilemma. I've always called it false dichotomy, but
It is. Yeah, it is
yeah,
exactly what it is.
because you're creating binaries
Mhm.
in the mind.
When it doesn't exist.
Yeah, when they don't exist at all. And it's oftentimes not even a sliding scale,
No.
right? It's oftentimes a, 3 at least 3 points, if not more,
Oh yeah.
of where you can fall, or quadratic, it could be quadrants that, you're within some, or it could be way more than that. But um at very least, most understandings of where you fall on something should be at least like quadrants, and you could fall, farther within one quadrant or another.
Right, right.
So yeah, this idea of it's either you're one thing or you're the other.
Yeah.
Um,
F. Scott Fitzgerald had a quote: "The opposite of a good idea is sometimes another good idea." So just because something
yep,
in one direction is good doesn't mean that the opposite is bad. We can have
yeah,
multiple good things in different directions, and that's okay. And that's a good thing. And that's kind of what we were talking about. Like we may disagree, and I have my purpose and why I think the way I think.
Mhm.
to my benefit, and you have yours, and that's okay.
Right. Yeah, and so often I think we've talked about this before in like permaculture design, right? What is the
The
best?
best. I
And it's like
hate that question.
the best for
For
what?
what?
Yep. And we just talked about this last week. What are the second order and third order, best for the first thing that you're immediately looking at, or
Yeah, but it's gonna
best
be worse
for
down the line.
yeah, best for the future, you know, best as far as financial benefit, best as far as health benefit, best is like best is a useless word.
It really is.
And when we're talking about being careful with language, there's one of the things that I realized as I'm, typing up designs and things for people or putting together, important language in home inspection or whatever else
Yeah,
is that I can use really generic words that to me sound like they mean something,
you're right.
but they actually have almost no meaning. And you could just kind of fill in the blank with,
Sure.
it's substantially something. Well, what does substantially mean?
Substantially what? That's yeah,
Well, if it wasn't substantial, if it wasn't substantive, like it's not a thing. So it's kind of a meaningless word to
yeah, it
throw in there.
exists.
Yeah,
Congratulations.
right. All right. So
Yep,
false dilemma.
yep, yep,
Yeah.
yep. So then after that was so we have slippery slope. So, um, this is one of those ones that I've gotten into with my kids. So it's assuming one small step leads to an extreme consequence without proof. Right.
Mhm.
So the example is if you start storing a few extra food supplies, next thing you know, you'll build a bunker and be quitting your job. It's like, I'm that what? Like, just got some canned food. Like, what? No. Um, but it's easy for our brains to travel down that path of like, well, if you're going to do this, then you're going to do this, and then this, and then this, and this, and it becomes this gigantic thing, as if we aren't capable of seeing that progression and stopping, or
Mhm.
changing direction, or re-evaluating. But yet we make those assumptions towards others. We see that in others, and we say, "Oh, if you're doing that, then therefore you must." Like
Yes. And I think that, we're talking about nuance of language. The little catch there is
yeah,
without proof.
without proof. Yes, that is it.
Because if there's a slippery like if there's a delineation
Yeah.
where, um, I leave the gate open and my goats get out. Well, there's no slippery slope
No,
about that,
they're
right? The
out.
goats are gonna get
Yeah.
out, and there's plenty of proof that goats are gonna get out if you leave the gate, right? So I don't know if that's the best example, but there are times when or you give you give government a little bit of power or authority over you, it will be abused. Like there is a slippery slope there, and I think the point is there's always proof. Like we can look at any authority that's been given, and it's always
And see
taken.
the yeah.
Yeah, and so we can see the outcome. So I think the important thing there is without proof and getting. My kid's going to become a drug addict because because they stayed out too late tonight or something,
Right.
right?
Yep.
Like, no, that's just sometimes kids do things they're not supposed to.
Well, yeah, and so that's a causality causation thing, which is another one we'll get into. Is like, oh, this happens, therefore it's going to cause this other thing inevitably. Like, there's no way you can get out of it. Like, no, it's there's a big difference between something you do and your character.
Mhm.
Yeah, yes, they may have made a mistake or done something stupid. Yes, they're kids. That's what they do. And we learn from it. If we don't learn from it, then that okay, now we're trying or starting to define a character trait where
Right.
we're not learning from these things. And there's the proof.
Yep. Yeah. So assuming one small step leads to an extreme consequence without proof.
Yep.
So if we've got proof, because there are times when something is a slippery slope, it's a analogy for a reason.
It is. It absolutely is. Because it's real. I mean, it's a thing. Yeah. All right.
Yeah. as you walk towards
Appeal
the,
to authority.
oh yeah, go for it.
This is a fun one. The appeal to authority. Claiming something is true because an authority figure said it. I seem to remember a few years ago, we had this sickness going around.
I doesn't ring a bell.
No? Okay.
No.
Um,
I don't remember anything about I am the science or
I
anything else either.
right. So again, so we can have these arguments where like, well, but, and we can point to that authority and go, that means it must be true because he said so. Nope.
Yeah, that's not how that works.
Yeah, Bertrand Russell said, have no respect for the authority of others, for there's always contrary authorities to be found.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter, yeah, what the authority says. There's always going to be somebody in equal position of authority somewhere that's going to completely vehemently disagree.
Well, and this kind of it begs the question, what does authority mean? And
Sure
how
does.
is authority granted?
Right. Oh, it's by submission. We have to give authority to those. There's no, they can't take it. I mean, they can kill me. That's fine. I know where I'm
Right.
going. Still not authority.
Right. Yeah, I think there's a very interesting book on the whole concept. I don't know if I'll mention the title here because it's a little edgy, but um very interesting that we do have to give that, we're essentially giving that over. And in, you know, basically before we had city states, you would have, generally speaking, you would, in more tribal situations, you would have somebody who was an elder who
Mm,
had wisdom,
yeah.
who would be considered to have some type of authority. They would be the ones who would judge issues. The wisdom and the track record were what gave them authority because people respected them. And when that respect was gone, their authority was gone. Whereas now we've got institutions that essentially hold on to that power indefinitely.
Yeah. Though they have never earned it.
Right. Yeah, they've stolen it slowly, essentially without us noticing.
Mhm.
To the until I call it turnkey totalitarianism, and it's the same idea here, right?
Yes.
You steal the authority and the authoritarianism. So you're stealing the authority or the ability to have authority over something, or power. Power is really the more appropriate word.
Mm.
Over time, until basically you've created the system where all you have to do is turn the key and now everything falls into place and you can do whatever you want with it.
Yep. Then you're running the show. Yep.
Yep.
Yeah. So so my example was a famous influencer said this survival gadget is the best, so therefore it must be true.
Yep.
And that's one of the reasons, like when people come in the shop, I'll say from my experience, this is what I have found. But
Mhm.
then I'll try to reach outside of me, and because I'm not the point of authority, I'm like I'm the point of experience, yes, but experience isn't the same as authority.
Right.
So from my experience, yes, this is good product. However, your mileage may vary, or like, hey, let's look at this guy. He's figured out to do it. I was talking with a guy. He's a local knife maker, and we were going over some designs that I was sketching out, and he was asking me questions. He's like, "Oh, why did you design it that way?" Because I'm making this, knife for the shop. And I'm like, "Oh, okay. Well, I use this for making feather sticks or whatever." He's like, "Oh, okay. Well," he's like, as a arranger, I did it this way, and we were trained to do it that way. I was like, dude, that actually makes a lot of sense. I
Mhm.
didn't learn it that way, but that makes a lot of sense. So I was like, okay, my experience, I would lean this direction for if you were looking for a knife. His experience, you lean a very different direction, like very different. They're equal
They
in
both
most
work, right?
regards. They both work. It's just coming down to training. It's not a matter of authority. When we raise somebody up to a position of authority, oh, you don't have that thing, therefore you don't know what you're doing.
Right. Or you don't agree with the authority that's already there, which I think we're actually going to step into this a little bit, where if you're not agreeing with what's already established, then you're therefore not worth paying attention to.
Right. And Vic jumped right to number 6, bandwagon, appeal to popularity. So assuming something is good or true because many people believe it. So the populace believes that this is the way it should go, therefore that's the way it must go.
Yeah.
No, that was the founding fathers' argument against democracy as a whole. Is, it's a bunch of wolves trying, and a lamb trying to decide what's for lunch.
Right. Yeah. The bandwagon thing, I think for you and I is so easy to see because we're both kind of out there.
Yes,
Like,
it is
yeah.
true.
And
Inherently, I'm against the bandwagon, I guess.
right. Yeah, you're like, why are those people on a wagon playing in a band? That's weird. I don't want to join at all.
No.
So yeah, I think for you and I, we're far enough out there where like the social pressure of everybody's doing it is just not. It's like I don't care. I'm
Yeah.
doing my own thing.
Yeah.
So
Well, and a lot of that comes from just being comfortable within yourself.
mhm.
Like no, I've figured out what it is that I want to do, or why I want to do it, or how I want to do it. You do you, boo. Like, you go for it.
Right.
Have fun. Tell me how that turns out for you.
Yeah, I think though it is really important to think about like why am I doing this thing? Why am I interested in this thing? Is it
Sure.
because all my friends are interested in this thing and you know like it's hard to be honest with yourself about that at
Right.
times. Like am I being influenced by other people to be interested in this popular thing?
Sure. So growing up, my dad, always had motorcycles, and the style of motorcycles that he loved was cafe racers. So like just stripped down, bare bones race bikes made out
Mhm.
of street bikes. And so that was all I cared about. That's all I loved. And then the advent of the adventure bike became really popular, and the BMW GS series. And I was like disgusted by these things. I'm like, that is the ugliest thing in the world. But it was like, it was so popular. And I was just like, why? And then I found myself like, well, I mean, like, I guess that one's kind of cool, because I got to be friends with this guy who was really into that type of motorcycle.
Sure.
And over time, I fell victim to this bandwagoning. I was like, wait a minute. And I'm looking back, I'm like, I hated these bikes. And here I am critiquing, going, oh, actually, I like this, or that's a cool version of that one. It's like, gosh darn it. He got me.
Yep.
I was pissed. I was really angry. Not at him, at me. I was like,
Right. I fell for it.
I fell for it. But it happens. I mean, in the firearms industry, like if Garand Thumb comes out and says, "Hey, this is the implement to have." We'll use implement because it's not going to get us kicked off YouTube, um, even though he's on there. Then it's like everybody's like, "Oh, I got to have it. I got to have a Mark 18." Like, do you even know what that is and why it's important and why it's useful? Like, you aren't kicking in doors. Why do you need that?
Nope.
But that goes back to our that best, right? Like,
Mhm.
oh, but he says it's the best, so therefore it's the best. Like, his version of the best is very specific under these circumstances for these purposes. That's
Right.
not going to be the same for you. So don't get wrapped up in the bandwagon, because you are an individual. You are different than everybody else around you. Why would you think that their solution is going to be the best solution for you?
Yeah. Yeah, and I think there's another thing with bandwagon that's interesting, and I'm trying to remember the guy who really dug into it, but there's there's these circumstances where a group basically it becomes groupthink, and so people will like not call the police because they're part of a group and they assume somebody else is taking care of that, but the entire group will like basically accept something that's really horrible that's going on because nobody's reacting to it.
Yes, and everybody else is just sitting there waiting, like, somebody else gonna react to this?
Mhm.
Guess they're not. Oh, okay. We'll just keep on going then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so, there's a lot of kind of insidious things about it. I think, I think there's a lot of that, even in, like, the modern church.
Oh yeah.
You
Oh,
know,
absolutely. Any kind
here's
of group that is susceptible to groupthink. It just is inherent to the physical structure of
mhm,
gathering that many people together with uh, similar enough perspectives and ideas that they're going to push aside any uncomfortableness. They're going to push aside any, secondary, like, well, I don't actually like that, or why are we doing that and not this?
right.
Yeah. I loved Mark Twain. He said, whenever you find yourself on the side of the majority, it's time to pause and reflect.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. And I who was it who wrote about the path less traveled?
Oh, yes, sure.
Right. And it's this idea of, there's a lot more enjoyment in it's not about being contrary, but in doing something differently, or at least not doing it just because it's the path more traveled.
Sure, sure. And Vic, to your question, yes, I do see that homesteading being bandwagony in
Mhm.
some circles. There's a lot of bandwagoning and appeals to authority within that realm. There's a lot of people like, oh, if you don't colony raise your rabbits, what are you even doing? You don't even know what you're doing. There's a lot of your above ground garden. It's not really a garden. You're not really a homesteader. There's a lot of that.
Yeah, unfortunately. And I think there's a lot of really great communities that have done a good job of avoiding that. But,
Yeah.
it's what gets clicks, right?
Right.
And, I'm sure if I wanted to be more controversial or more pushy about my specific opinions that people had to follow them, I'd probably get more clicks, but I'm not
Probably.
gonna yeah, I'm not gonna do that because it's not true. There isn't a best. Like,
Right.
I grow my vegetables in ground. Um, I prefer more meat than I do vegetables. I think those are best for me.
Mhm.
Some
Yeah, I'm
people
saying you have your reason for it, and right on.
yep.
But
But
somebody with alpha gal, not gonna work so well.
right, or maybe they have to move towards chicken and eggs or
And
uh,
that's yeah,
whatever it is. Each person or their property just doesn't support certain things, or they feel like they're supposed to be leaning towards vegetables. It's fine.
yeah,
I don't feel that way,
nope,
and you do you,
yeah.
right? Like, and if you find that a few years down the road you're not as strong as you used to be, and you
You might
decide
want
to
to yeah, change.
yeah, and same with if you're eating carnivore and you get a few years into it and you're like, this just isn't working like it used to.
Yeah,
You might need a break from it, right?
yeah,
There really isn't a best. There's good, and Vic kind of hit on this before. Like, there's a value in good, or because a lot of times it's about putting your head down and pursuing the thing
yeah.
that is good, and not getting distracted by constantly trying to figure out what is the best and
Right.
abandoning something that's good that you've already put time into.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, gosh, yes. There's yeah. If you can get some, well, and we've talked about it, the 80-20 rule. Like, if you can get 80%, dude, right on. Just move on to the next thing. Like,
Mhm.
don't go for 100%. I mean, maybe you come back and you see if you can eke out a little bit more, but like you hit 80%, you're that's golden.
Yep. The Pareto principle from last
That's right.
last week.
You know what? C's get degrees. Alrighty. So
D's get degrees too, technically.
I know I've seen them. They've shifted the scale. It's
Oh, have
not.
they?
Oh yeah, it's bad. It's like you can have like I don't remember what it was like a 40% and get a D. Like,
Oh, wow. Yeah, well, we
no.
all know that's because the colleges are going under like mad, and they need to, just like high schools, they need to graduate people
Hmm.
to get the money.
Well, and
And
perfect evidence that teaching for to the test doesn't work because
mhm,
if people can't think, yeah.
right.
Alrighty. So we did bandwagon. Next one, number 7, hasty generalization, drawing a broad conclusion from a small sample. So, example, I met one prepper. This is what we talked about earlier. I met one prepper who was extreme and paranoid. Therefore, all preparedness people must be like that. Boy, I get that one a lot. Like,
Mhm.
"Oh, you're a doomsday prepper. You got a, you know, bunker in your basement." No, I have a TV and some exercise equipment. What just like a what is it you
Right.
think I do?
I worked with this kid who was convinced that I had, like, a secret layer underneath my house. It was, like, multiple levels deep.
Right.
Yeah. Yep. Not that well, and I think both of us tend to not like the nomenclature of prepper because of the assumptions that, the TV shows like Doomsday Prepper,
Yep. Ruin it
they
for everybody.
that's right. I mean, they go and follow these really midwit would probably be kind for some of the people that they're
Yes.
they're following, or and doing a show on, and these people are all convinced that the one thing that they've determined, whether it's, peak oil or EMP or
Yeah.
whatever, is what's gonna
That must
happen,
be uh-huh.
and they've taken out their 3rd mortgage on the home to prepare for the really overly specific, unlikely event that they've determined is what's going to happen in the next 2 years.
Right. Yes.
Um, and it makes everybody else who's trying to be r decent look like an idiot.
Yes. True. Yes. Like, no, I just want to live and eat real food and not be dependent upon infrastructure. What like doesn't mean I'm bonkers. Like, yeah. Well, and that's what okay, I'm not even gonna try to pronounce who this quote is from, but the quote's solid. The problem with stereotypes is not that they are untrue, but that they are incomplete. I was like,
Yeah.
yeah, because they are. And taking an outlier is the worst end of incomplete. Having
Mhm.
someone who is extreme does not define the entire, subset.
Or even if the majority of the subset is kind of extreme,
Sure.
there may be those who are part of it who are not,
Yeah,
and
maybe
so
I'm the
are
outlier. That's okay.
right. Yeah, maybe the preppers are really crazy. Maybe they're just the people who are, taking stuff from the stores so other people can't get them, even
Right.
though that's completely backwards. It's, we're setting things aside when times are good, so that this on-demand, instant economy that we have something set aside, and so we've essentially forced the economy to build in some extra
A little
redundancy.
buffer there. Yeah.
Yeah, a buffer rather
Oh,
than the opposite, which is what people assume preppers are doing is they're hoarding. It's
yeah.
like, no, we're helping you while we
Yes.
do this because now we don't have to run out to the store and buy,
All the
a
toilet paper.
toilet paper fort
That's it.
and hide in it from a cold.
Yes. Right.
Did I
And
just
Vic,
say
I'm
that?
in my basement. This is my basement. See, I've got guitars and basses and amps.
So you don't have like all the walls lined with toilet paper and
No, no,
uh,
no.
Faraday
Just a
cages.
bunch of garbage. Yeah, no. All right. So yeah, a hasty generalization. And yeah, yeah. Anyway. Okay, next one. Post hoc or false cause. So the assuming that because one thing happened after another, it was caused by it. So this is
Mhm.
causality, causation. And as human beings, this I think is probably the most insidious of all of them and probably kind of almost a root for a lot of them is
Yep.
we inherently try to fill in the blanks. You hear a sound at night, your brain will fill in the blanks, what it was. Oh, maybe that was, if right after you had a kid, you hear a noise, it must be the kid. Um, your friend had a home invasion, you hear a noise, it must be a home invasion. Your brain is automatically going to try and fill in those gaps, and it's going to take causality and it's going to try and fix that by filling in the blanks,
Mhm.
and we can come up with some wild conclusions.
Yeah. Yeah, we certainly can, especially especially either when we're emotionally triggered, as you mentioned before. So if you're emotionally triggered, your brain will, rather than rationally thinking through or processing through what the percentage is of the likelihood of the thing you're thinking are.
Right.
And the other side of that is you're just you're going to look for the most scary thing as well,
Sure. Yeah.
and fill in that blank because I think there's a certain amount of we are as humans aware and need to be aware of potential risks and dangers.
Oh, yeah.
It's just we may in a emergency get one danger way higher than it is and another danger actually way lower than it is.
Sure. But then it also works in the other direction because we'll see the advent of superstitions through,
Mhm.
well, I did this one thing this one time and this outcome was this. So therefore, they must be connected. So
Yep.
therefore, we
And
have superstitions.
therefore we have magical underpants.
That's exactly true. It
I
happened
don't
this
have
one
any, but
time. You're not Mormon? No. Um,
ouch.
sorry.
No, it is interesting. Yeah, these superstitions and things that crop up. And weirdly, I've this is not something I necessarily was exposed to as a kid because I grew up north, but there's a lot of weird well, to me, very weird things that crop up as superstitions that I've never heard before
Oh, okay.
after moving here. And so that's been a because there's all this like folklore and stuff that came out of
Oh,
the
did you hear
Appalachians.
something in the woods? No, you didn't.
Right.
Just keep on going.
Yeah, I mean it's interesting how um I think I grew up in more like German, Lutheran type
Oh, yeah, yeah.
settings, right? Where everybody's like stoic
Yep.
and everything has a root cause and you're like yeah, there's just
We don't jump to conclusions. We, evaluate and, analyze.
yeah. And it's not always correct either,
No.
some they miss a lot of things because they're just like, well, let's sit and talk about this or think about this. And it's like, sometimes there is a time to actually be concerned or, you know,
Sure.
throw assumptions in there. You just have to balance it properly.
Yes. And that's a lot of the is and not get stuck. That was the other thing is when we make assumptions about causality, it tends to permeate a lot. I see this a lot in the conspiratorial circles
Mhm.
where they'll get caught on a aspect and then they see that in everything. And so,
Right.
oh, that's this because and they'll make these just incredible jumps and leaps in logic to justify that everything is all connected under this one grand conspiracy. I'm like,
Mhm.
no, that guy's just a jerk and they're
Right.
evil. Like
Right.
I'm not saying
S
that that there's a problem. There's a problem.
Right.
I'm just saying they're not connected.
Yeah, and sometimes it is, sometimes it's not. The whole point of the more grand conspiracies are to I mean, there's a lot along with those that makes things look like they're not connected as well. And so it's like a mind game where putting the pieces together,
Yeah.
people can get really lost in it and really um yeah, just kind of neurotic, I think
Yeah.
is one of the ways that one of the outcomes from that for sure.
Oh yeah. Well, and Vic, it is we are designed to make those jumps. It's self defense. It's a way of protecting ourselves. You're not wrong. Um, it's just one of those things that we have to actively fight against and not necessarily even fight against, evaluate and reevaluate and double check and evaluate again, because the worst thing that we can do is make an assumption. And that comes back to language. I assume that I understand your definition of the words.
Mhm.
And one things I try to teach my kids is to ask questions, and not just ask questions when you don't understand, but ask questions when you think you do.
Mhm.
Asking those like, okay, this is what I heard. Is this what you meant? Like, those exploratory questions that force the really good, clean, clear, understanding between people that language, sometimes English, sucks at.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, if we're speaking Greek, I suppose that, it's so specific.
Greek is and
Um,
Latin are just they're beautiful languages. They
yeah,
truly are. I I very much enjoyed. I never got too deep into Greek, but Latin was awesome.
yep. Well, there's enough similarities there that,
Yeah.
some cross that, yeah. But yeah, I think the post hoc is really the false cause is a really good thing to watch out for because there's so much garbage out there. Like this thing, this thing looks kind of like this thing, and
Yes.
and being somebody who believes a certain number, fairly large number at least, uh, of what I consider reasonable conspiracies,
Yeah.
there are so many ridiculous ones,
Yes.
or ones that take the thing that I believe is being true and make it look completely stupid.
Oh,
Like
yes. We can
viruses
under
don't, yeah,
Yeah, we can
viruses don't
undermine it
exist,
so easy,
right?
by just spreading. I mean, and that's a conspiracy in and of itself.
Mhm.
Of like, oh, well, they just release all this information that makes us who are conspiracy theorists seem stupid. Even the term conspiracy theorist was a CIA, conspiracy to undermine people who were observant and intellectual enough to
Right.
see it.
Well, I like I no, I should say I really dislike when somebody says, "Oh, it's not even a conspiracy theory. It's like here's proof." And it's like, yes, that's proof that it is a conspiracy theory because conspiring is one or more people
People, yes,
choosing to secretly do something,
yep,
right? Um, And so a theory about somebody conspiring, a group of people conspiring towards something when it's
that's
proven true doesn't make it not a conspiracy theory.
right. That's actually exactly what it is. That's
Yeah.
yeah,
I mean, you could say it's conspiracy fact now.
yeah,
Maybe you could change the term in that sense, but like it's just, it drives me nuts because conspiracy theory has now been replaced with, again, language, right? Like the actual meaning based on the words has been replaced with, you know, crazy idea that you think somebody did,
right.
essentially.
Yes.
And that's not what it means.
No, no, not at all. Absolutely not.
All
All
right,
right.
what's the next one,
The
Jared?
next one, good old circular reasoning. That the argument loops back upon itself as proof. The gear must be reliable because it's used by experts. The experts use the gear because it's reliable. Yeah,
That's a
we
pretty
see.
short circle.
It's a real short circle. It's like, but we see that like it's A leads to B, the B leads to A. That it's perfect. It's proven. Like,
Mhm.
no, that's not how math works.
Right. Because I'm sure none of those experts are getting paid anything
Well,
to
exactly.
represent that
Right.
gear.
Yes, like, oh, this is the best flash drive ever. Like, like because I said so. And I definitely didn't get paid by Lexar to say that. Um
No, it is. We both use
ah!
this.
Okay,
I've got
that
that green one sitting
I
around
swear
somewhere
we did
too.
not plan that. That's awesome.
I actually used to, I haven't talked with her in forever, but I knew a Lexar rep.
Really?
Yeah, and it wasn't this one, it was a purple one that was 64 gigs,
Oh
and I
yeah.
got it back when, like, 64 gig flash drives didn't exist. It's like the
Oh.
biggest you could get was 8,
Oh, wow.
and so she had these, like, early, like, super early stuff, and so I got a whole
That's
bunch of
baller,
64 gig and
dude.
other crazy stuff that wasn't even on the market at the time, but
Nice.
anyways, it's my story of knowing somebody from who worked for Lexar.
I used to rock a iron key. Do you remember those?
Mhm.
Those like aluminum enclosed ones. That
Yep.
thing was rad. I got in so much trouble in the Air Force. They actually banned any flash drives. You could not plug any flash drive into any government computer.
I
That
mean,
had all
I
my
wasn't,
passwords.
what's that?
It had all my passwords though.
Yeah, I mean, that was kind of an inevitability, right?
It really
Because
was.
you all you have to do to get into a government computer is go through a few flash drives in the parking lot with some malware, and you're
Oh
in.
yeah. Oh, oh yeah. I used to walk through the hospitals with a bootable version of Linux. I think it was Knopex at the time.
Mhm.
And I would just walk right around all of their security. It was hysterical. Like, how did you get in there? Like, there's a USB port, and I plugged in and booted.
Yep.
Anyway,
Oh, that was how I used to recover photos for people
oh yeah,
when they destroy their, it
uh-huh.
wasn't because the hard drive was bad. It was just, some portion of the OS went bad or
Yep,
they downloaded a virus. I'm like, well, Linux isn't susceptible to that specific
right.
thing. I'll go on, get your photos off, and we'll just reinstall.
That's exactly what I used to do too.
Yep.
All right, so yeah, circular reasoning. C.S. Lewis had an interesting quote on this one. If you assume, back to assuming, what you are trying to prove, you have proved nothing. And our assumptions are very often our end, because when we do make assumptions, you know what happens. So we have to start with assuming, and we've talked about this, trying to disprove our assumptions.
Hmm.
If we approach it from that perspective, then that helps to negate the being as susceptible to that circular reasoning. Because some of these circular reasoning things is a long trip. It's not, just as that short little trip that, my example was. Some of them are a really long trip. And if you only make it halfway, you're not going to see the full loop.
Yep. What's going on, Tim? Tim from the Regenerative
Hey,
Orchardists or
evening, sir.
Regenerative Orchards. Sorry,
If you're
bro.
if you're not following Tim, go follow him.
Yeah, you should. He's got some awesome content on
Yes.
his most recent one was on there's a like fig expert who he
I
interviewed.
love that. That's awesome. You get to sit down with that dude and like ask him all the questions. That was rad.
Yeah, I was at the same festival, but I didn't get to sit down with anybody because I had a booth. So
Oh,
yeah. Anyways, a little bit jealous of Tim getting to talk to him, but whatever. He introduced me. He was kind enough.
nice. All right. So yeah, so that's circular reasoning. Okay, the next one, number 10, red herring. Um, distracting from the main issue with irrelevant information. Okay. So example, we don't need to talk about emergency water storage. What really matters is that most people are wasting their money on coffee. Like, I'm sorry, what? Like, and that's kind of akin to like moving the goalpost.
Yeah.
So if you ever, my kids, oh my, I love my kids, I love my kids, I love my kids, but my kids often like
They're
they're
always
like,
trying something.
yeah, they're like, hey, this. I'm like, okay, and I'll answer that, but this, I'm like, no, this. You said
Right.
this, we did this, not that. That was not part of the conversation.
Hmm.
Mm,
Yeah, no, I see that too with my kids, but the thing that like really irks me the most about red herrings is that it's like I don't even know how to tell you like how do I even explain to you that that's not related,
right.
right? Like
In their brain, it just is. But it's the same thing. Like, no, no, it's not.
right.
It's not.
We're wasting all our yeah, wasting all our money or wasting all our water on coffee. It's like,
Yeah, exactly. Well,
okay.
so Harry Truman had a funny quote. He says, "If you can't convince them, confuse them."
Yeah.
Coming from a president, that's a horrible thing. Like, that explains so much, though.
It does. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. If you confuse the issue, or if you just kind of keep pointing in directions that are not the right direction, it basically makes it like nobody can follow it. Even if you can follow it,
Right.
like the person you're talking to is either unwilling to follow a logical train of thought, or if you are debating or having a larger conversation with more people, when somebody throws this wrench in the gears, it basically stops you from having any meaningful debate. And now you have to prove that they just brought up something that's unrelated, but you have to explain how they're unrelated,
Right.
which is difficult because sometimes they're so unrelated. It's like, how do you even start to
Yeah.
explain that wasting money on coffee has nothing to do with our water storage?
Right. I know it. It's wild, but it is, and it's so prevalent again. A lot,
Mm.
and that's a lot of these. As I was going through, I was like, I'm looking at Facebook, I'm looking at Instagram, I'm looking at all of these, social medias, and it's just filled with it. It's filled with all of these red herrings and these circular reasonings and these false causes and hasty generalizations, and it's exhausting. Like, because I want to say something. I want to go in there. Hey, just so you know, that actually has nothing to do with this. Let's deal with this issue.
Mhm.
We can deal with that issue, sure, but that's gonna be a separate conversation.
Right.
I don't have the time or the crayons to explain myself to some people.
Is that a Marines reference?
A little bit. uh, but yeah, because I see it so often that people will, and maybe it's because they want to seem intelligent, that they want to include other facts and other factors that I, as being someone who knows something about the subject, know they aren't related. So maybe it's not, and a lot of this maybe isn't vindictive. It isn't necessarily intentional. It's just apathetic. Um,
Well, and I think a lot of it gets trained in. I mean, the reason that these are, fallacies is because they're something that a lot of us learn as children.
sure.
Maybe one of our parents used X number of these fallacies a lot as a way to argue, as a way to maybe even manipulate. Um,
Yes. Sure.
maybe our school teachers probably did, if appeal to authority. Does that ever happen in school?
Right.
Right.
Circular reasoning. Because I said so. Said every parent ever.
Right. Yeah, I
I'm
mean,
guilty.
right. And so I think it's good just to start to honestly evaluate, are we using these?
Yeah.
And they're known fallacies because they're something that gets used constantly.
Yep.
And a lot of people use it without knowing they're using it.
Right. Right. Well, and then so that kind of leads into the next one, because the next one's appeal to fear.
Mhm.
And going back to how I started this, like, if you find yourself fearful, concerned, angry, whatever, take that as an indicator that you need to stop and evaluate the argument. That as soon as there's that emotional reaction, like, put on the brakes.
Mhm.
Don't respond emotionally, for one, because you're more likely to commit one of these fallacies. But two, more likely than not, the thing you're trying to argue against is in itself a fallacy.
Yeah, and recognizing that, I think I struggle to have words for the thing that's frustrating me or overwhelming me at a moment.
Sure.
And so to be able to have kind of a cheat sheet of a few fallacies
Yeah.
and to know what the fallacy is,
Yeah.
um, so that I can first explain it in my own mind,
Yeah.
and then maybe have a chance of kindly and reasonably getting around that specific fallacy, even if you're, yelling at your wife or kids or, somebody
Sure.
else on the internet, that's an appeal to authority.
Yeah.
Well,
Right.
it's probably not going to go over well, but understanding the
It's not going to help.
concept,
Yeah.
right, is you might start another another inappropriate, yeah, fallacy. But I think understanding the concept really helps you sort the wheat from the chaff.
Yeah.
And in
Oh
our
yeah.
over mediated society where everything's on social media and everything's short and trying to get your attention and stir up your emotions, towards one thing or another.
Yep.
And some of that stuff is extremely capable of getting your emotions going, towards your given thing that you're upset about.
Yep.
And a lot of times it's partially true, partially untrue. And now you look like an idiot when you bring up your points to somebody else because a lot of them aren't true.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. So the appeal to fear is using, honestly, it's just using fear to persuade instead of logic. So, if you don't buy this survival kit, you aren't going to make it through this next disaster. Like, there's no logic in that. None.
Right.
Because even if you do buy it, it's not a, miracle get out of jail free card that guarantees your survival. And just because you don't have it doesn't mean that you're not going to make it.
Right.
So That's not how that works.
Mm. Well,
Yes,
and
there
again,
there are
it
good tools, sure, awesome, yay, but that's not a guarantee either way.
right. Well, and again, it comes back to, you can have tools, you can have all the preps, you can have all that stuff, but if you
Yeah,
don't have the ability to think through how to use it or how to be creative or, like you can't have one of everything or 10 of everything.
right.
There's going to be times when you need to improvise.
Yeah,
And if you're in fear, if you're functioning in that fear state, you're not going to you're not going to be ready to use that thing, the I don't know, tourniquet that you're convinced that you have to have,
yeah, right.
um with because you're in fear. And so um stepping outside of that fear, and the quote you put was, the only thing we have to fear is fear itself.
Good old FDR.
That fear really does hinder us. It paralyzes us. Even if we think we're doing something, when we're doing it in fear, we're probably doing it stupidly.
Sure. Yeah, we tend to react, um, without thinking when we're in a fearful state. Yeah, because we've transitioned to that lower baser brain, that more just fight or flight response,
Mhm.
instead of the thing that thinks and reasons and evaluates and uses
Yeah.
that scientific method and
It's great when you're about to get hit by a gravel truck
yeah,
to like, "Oh, I'm
and just
running. I don't
react.
know
Yeah.
why, but I'm running."
Hmm.
Like, that's a
Yep.
good thing. It's not a great thing when you're like, "Oh, somebody's leg just got blown off. I've gotta do something about that." And there's in some martial arts, I'm not sure where it comes from or where it originates, but there's this concept of slow is smooth and smooth is fast.
Yeah.
And having your wits about you, like, you can look like you're doing something really fast, and you're actually just either screwing it up or it's actually taking longer than you thought it was.
Yes. Oh,
Because
often, when I'm helping my son through something, he'll get himself, all anxious, and he'll make mistakes, and I'll stop. I'm like, "Hey, look, now this is going to take the extra time. You were anxious about the time it was going to take, but now it's actually taking more time because
Mhm.
you're having to go back and redo it. So instead, let's stop. Let's go through it methodically. Let's get through it right the first time, and then you're out. You're done."
Yeah. Well, what's cool is, we didn't necessarily talk about this beforehand, and we probably should have thought about it a bit, but like the Bible has answers for a lot of these
Oh,
things,
yes,
or
it is.
all of them for that matter. But
Yes.
in this one, I'm thinking of like that we shouldn't fear, but instead give thanks.
Hmm.
That we're not supposed to be living in a state of fear, but we're
Right.
instead supposed to step back and be grateful
For
and
what we
be
have.
thankful.
Yeah.
Yeah, for what we have. And in doing that, we're not going to fall victim to appeal to fear, because we're going to be stepping back and saying, I'm grateful for what God's given me. I'm grateful
Yeah.
for what I have. And then we can logically and reasonably and calmly process through, is there something more I should be ready for? Are there are there some things that, this specific product that I've been fear motivated to get, or, fear motivated to vote for, or whatever else,
Right.
is that the right one? Because maybe I do need a tourniquet, but if somebody's trying to sell it to me with fear, I don't want to have anything to do with that.
I don't want to support them.
Right.
Now, if somebody's, saying, "Hey, this is an awesome thing to have because, maybe you don't need it, but maybe you come across somebody who does, and you can provide that service and save that life." And that's amazing thing to do.
Yeah.
That's a good way to utilize that technology to have that preparedness item. But maybe you just don't need it, and that's okay too.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
Absolutely.
All right. So the last one, the no true Scotsman argument. So this basically just redefines a group to dismiss counterexamples. So the example: no real survivalist would ever rely on store bought gear. So if you rely on store bought gear, you're not a survivalist.
Interesting. So I'm not familiar with this one.
Okay.
Um, Do you know where the no true Scotsman comes from? Like, where does the
Oh, the etymology of
name
it?
of this fallacy come from? Yeah.
I don't actually know exactly.
Okay.
I'm curious. I've heard lots of renditions of the No True Scotsman, and usually it is literally about a Scotsman. Like, oh, no real Scotsman would fill in the blanks, whether it was like wear something under his kilt or I don't know. It was something like that. Um, and it's a really poignant fallacy that's easy to dismiss somebody's argument. Like, well, you don't, so therefore you must not be, or you do, therefore you must, you know, and just dismissing them out of hand because, well, no real whatever. And I
Right.
see this all the time in the church. No real Christian would fill in the blank,
Hmm.
drink wine. Oh no. Whatever. Hang out with sinners. Oh no. You're like, Jesus did both of those things. Um,
Right.
just saying. Um, but yeah, it is the definition. So the reality is that that definition is being adjusted to avoid a disagreement, not to describe the truth. Yeah, it's just completely offhandedly dismissing the reality by just, nope, you're not really. It's not really. Whatever.
Yeah. So now you don't have to deal with the actual criticism or the
Yeah.
actual, the actual topic at hand because, oh, I can just broadly dismiss this entire thing based on, my definition.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Interesting. Yeah, I think all of these they're really good to kind of have in hand and understand. And you must learn all of these or you will never win an argument.
Good use of a Nurture Scotsman. So I went through and I created a whole bunch of little small images for each one of these that I'll be posting up on my Facebook page. So if you're not already following, follow. Because yeah, there it is. It's a lot to keep track of. I'll acknowledge it. It really is. But it's one of those things that as time goes on, is you continuously remind yourself of what the fallacies are. You'll start to see it. You'll start to see them in everyday conversations and in social media a lot. So was there any specific fallacy that caught your eye?
Yeah, I think to me the false dilemma is the one that I run across the most.
I agree. Yes.
Or as I probably wrongly call it the false
Dichotomy.
dichotomy.
Yep.
This idea of everything being binary
Mhm.
drives me nuts. It's if
You're
you know
either a
the
Republican or a Democrat. You're either a whatever.
yeah,
Like,
or you don't support this spending bill, and the spending bill had like money for orphans in it, so now you hate orphans,
right, right.
right? Um, just the way that it's used so manipulatively to demonize people
Yes.
on such a consistent basis. And it's just not how the world works. Nothing is, well, very little is on and off.
Yes.
Digital is on and off.
Yeah,
Um,
binary is binary, but that's
right.
about it.
Yeah. Well, even binary, I'm thinking of like, you know, this is so inside baseball, but like Quam, which is it's a transmission data for it's quadrature modulated
Oh, okay.
amplitude modulation, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And it's this idea that you have quadratures, and within those quadratures, you have different multiple strings of binaries.
Yeah,
And so
right.
you could have Quam
Concurrent.
Quam 16 or Quam 256 or whatever. Anyways, super inside baseball. But the idea of even something that's digital has like more than two options. You've got like, and so yes, there's technically an on-off switch for digital, but like nothing in reality in the real analog world has anything to do with either or exactly.
Right. Yeah.
So that one just bothers me because it's like there's you to use that one, you've removed every ounce of nuance, and the only point in doing it is to divide people.
Yes. That is exactly what, and to force you to acquiesce to their, it's like, "Yes, of course I want to support the orphans, so fine, yes, I'll, pass your stupid omnibus bill and, you know."
Now the orphans are supported
Yeah,
for sure.
and we're in more debt because the other half of that bill was all about, just increasing spending.
Yep.
Because that's always what it is. It's always like it's always that one thing that they'll harp on. It's like, oh, well, if you support, and it's always some gut wrenching whatever. Like you'll support this bill. 90% of the bill is just raising rates on everybody's everything.
Right.
Wonder why everything's so expensive.
Yeah. Well, and there's every time you go to a checkout, there's, do you want to donate to this cause? Like, if I did, I'd donate to that cause.
Yes, I would.
Right. I don't need you to hold on to my money to get some extra tax breaks. So yeah, it's
I like Vic.
what do you say?
A guy walks into a bar and orders 10 beers. The bartender hands him two. Binary joke. There's only 10 type of people in this world: those who get binary and those who don't.
Very nice. All right, I think we just nerded out. So Jared, what's like your top fallacy that
Appeal to
we've kind of
authority.
covered? Okay.
It's one of the ones that irks me the worst is when someone claims authority. Like, you are not God. I'm sorry. You don't get to claim that one. Like, no.
Right.
Oh, but I'm like, you have experience, yes. And that's where I come back to that. It's like, experience, yes. Authority, no.
Well, I think the other place I see it is people just automatically doing it. So
Yes.
this is not a slight on anybody or even that I'm always right. But one of the things I've noticed is I'll get people who are like, this person said you can't do the thing you're telling me to do, or this person said you should do it this way.
Right.
I'm like, they live in Wisconsin.
Oh yeah. Right.
Right. Like, this person said you have to bury your water lines 36 inches. I'm like,
Frost line. Yeah.
yeah, because
You don't have that.
right. And that
Three-
person has
three
way more
inches. Good.
followers than you. I'm like, great. They
Good
may
for
not
them.
have been being real nuanced, or maybe you didn't notice the nuance, or, like, but people will do it to themselves. They'll put themselves in a situation where they see somebody, they kind of create somebody as an authority, even if that person never said they were,
Sure.
and then, miss out on the potential of somebody else who, there's tons of people who are super knowledgeable and have no internet presence.
Yes. Oh gosh, yes. Oh, I've learned a lot of playing guitar, 30 whatever years. I learned a lot from some really good guitarists. I've learned a lot from newbie guitarists too,
Yeah.
because they have a different perspective. They come at it with fresh eyes. They think about things from, more ergonomically sometimes, because, as we get older, we get lazy on our fingering and how it works. And they'll come into it with this fresh perspective and how they transition chords. And it's like, oh yeah, that actually, dude, that is cleaner. That sounds nicer, or
Yeah.
that moves easier. Just because someone's young, don't look down on them. Hey, I think that's in the Bible too.
Paul to Timothy. Yep.
That's right.
Yeah. I think there's something about a fresh perspective on something that's really useful. And again, the talking with somebody, even if you disagree with them, or maybe especially if you disagree with them, talking with somebody who has a different opinion, a different point of view, can really sharpen and hone what you're thinking. Kind of like
Mhm.
iron sharpens iron, or something like that.
Yeah,
as
something
well.
like that.
So, yeah. Rocky Pines, I'm trying to see if he's saying something we need to hit.
Oh. Yeah, especially in your area, where you have, such huge changes in elevation, 1,000 foot higher than you. Yeah, the frost lines are going to be totally different. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Frost lines, you really need to look at your location,
Mhm.
your zone.
Yeah.
But
Well,
even the USDA zones are going to be,
oh, yeah,
they're generalized.
well, yeah, because we get these microclimates. Like, I was talking to my mom and my sister on Mother's Day, and I'm like, we were talking about, it's like the climate that where you're at is totally different than where my cousin is up in Allgood versus where I'm at
Mhm.
here, even though we're all in the same zone. Like, we can't grow the same stuff in the same way. Just no.
Yeah. Yeah, one side of a hill to another, next to a stream, all the microclimates. Yeah, it's totally different everywhere.
Yup.
All right. Well, I think that
Alrighty.
pretty much wraps us.
I
And
think so.
what do you want to tell people where they can find you?
Sure. I got things. Hold on. I gotta figure out where this new system is. It's different. Okay, there we go. Aha, it worked. Okay. I am Jared. I own Resilient Living. You can find us at resilientliving.com. You can follow us on Facebook. Please follow us on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. I put out stuff. I try to do it every day. Usually it's a lot of clips from the show. So basically what I sell is I have everything from firearms to homesteading books and everything in between. But really what I love to do is to help people solve problems. Whether that means just special ordering them something. I bought somebody a backup camera for their car because she needed it. I didn't get to unbox it. I was going to do the review video, but I didn't get to unbox it. He just bought, she just bought it, package sealed. So anyway, so that's me. So if you are in the Middle Tennessee area, I am right on 111 between Sparta and Spencer. Come by the shop 10 to 6 Tuesday through Saturday, and check us out. We've got a very interesting assortment of stuff, from camping stuff to knives to guns and ammo, books, body armor. I mean, like, we've got quite a coffee. I've got coffee.
Yeah, you've got a selection.
I've got a selection. So that's me.
Awesome. And people don't forget about the podcast as far as listening to it. So, Jared, do you have kind of a brief explanation of how people can find that?
So right now it's Spotify. Apple sucks. I've been trying for over a month to get a Apple account approved, and Apple just I anyway. So I don't have my Apple ID yet, so I can't push it the RSS feed to Apple podcast yet. But so for right now, Spotify. I've got 16 episodes are up, and I've got them scheduled Mondays and Wednesdays all the way through the end of July. So
Nice. And if you want to find it on Spotify, I believe because there's other,
yes,
they just don't like us.
they don't like us.
We're not important enough yet. Use quotes. So resilient live in with an N, no G.
Yep. And if you follow us on Facebook, I posted a link to that to the one yesterday, I think. And I'm gonna pin it so that you can get to it easier from my main page.
Cool. All right. I'm Ryan Steva. I'm the homestead consultant at thehomesteadconsultant.com. If you look up the homestead consultant on just about any social media page, you'll find me, except for Facebook. I've just kind of done it as my personal page because I
Makes it hard to tag you.
yeah, I hate Facebook.
I do
I don't
too.
want to put. I just don't want to put time into it. They hate me, so I hate them.
That's right.
That's biblical. It's a corporation. I think I can hate it. Anyways, that's how you can find me if you want to, or, thehomesteadconsultant.com. I've got all my contact information there, pricing and all that for helping people out with their homesteads.
Awesome. Alrighty. Well, I appreciate everybody who joined us and chimed in. That's been great. And we will catch you all next week, Tuesday, 7 o'clock.